name is Chris Thomas, and I'm one of the pastors at Cross Church Yokosuka. And today I want to talk to you about the temptation of feeling like you're all alone. So I can't remember where it was, but I actually saw a news article saying that a young girl had committed suicide because of the pressures of being all alone during this time of quarantine, feeling like she was going through this all alone. And so in today's video, I want to look at the story of Elijah, and I want to use that story to reassure us that we are not going through this alone. And so the story of Elijah, you can find it in 1 Kings, starting in chapter 17. And today we're going to focus on chapter 17 through 19. And the basic story is this. Elijah goes to the king of Israel. The king of Israel is a man by the name of King Ahab. He's married to a woman named Jezebel. And they have caused Israel to sin by worshiping false gods. And the gods that they worship, they are the fertility gods, the gods that they say cause it to rain. And so Elijah says that, he goes and says that I am praying to God, and it will be by my word that it rains. This is to show that God, Yahweh, is in control of everything. And so he prays, and once he prays, a drought comes over the land of Israel. Everything just stops raining. Now, during this time, King Ahab is very angry with Elijah because he blames him for making the rain stop, and so he wants Elijah dead. So Elijah has to go into hiding. Elijah first goes to a brook, and he stays there in hiding, and God has the ravens come and drop food off for him, and there he lives for probably about a year or more, and then that brook dries up. Why? Because there's a famine in the land. And so then God sends Elijah to a widow, and he says this widow will take care of you. But when he gets to the widow, the widow is starving. Her and her son, she's about to prepare the last meal for them. And so when Elijah gets there, instead of them taking care of him, he ends up taking care of them. And again, it's just the three of them. Basically, he's in hiding all alone. And this goes on so, for a period of about 3 years. For about 3 years, Elijah is all alone. And so finally, the day comes when Elijah knows that it's time for the rain to come again. So Elijah is on his way to go to King Ahab, and he runs into this man by the name of Obadiah. And Obadiah goes, is it really you, Elijah? And Elijah goes, yes. And he goes, now to go tell your master. And Obadiah stops him. Obadiah is a little bit upset because, one, he's afraid that Elijah is going to disappear on him, and then he'll get killed by Ahab for lying about Elijah and seeing him. But the other thing is this. Obadiah was himself a faithful man of God, and he had hid 100 of God's prophets. Now keep that in mind. Obadiah had risked his life to hide 100 prophets. So then later on, Elijah meets with Ahab, and he says, look, let's go ahead and see whose God is the real God. Let's have a competition. You have all of your prophets of Baal. Meet me at Mount Carmel, and we'll see who is the real God. So Ahab does that. Ahab gathers the 450 prophets of Baal, and they go to Mount Carmel. And then Elijah says, look, let's see whose God is real. Let's both build altars, put sacrifices on them, but we're not going to touch them. And you call on your God, I'll call on my God, and whoever's God makes the fire come down from the sky, that is the true God. And so they agree to this. So the 450 Baal prophets, they go first, they build their altar, they put the stuff up there, and then they start to they pray to their God. They say, Baal, make the fire come down. No fire comes. They start to cut themselves. They start howling. And Elijah, he starts making fun of them and saying, maybe your God's going to the bathroom. Who knows where he is? And then finally, Elijah, he gives the instructions for the altar to be built. And then he says a prayer, and God makes fire come down from the sky. And when everybody sees this, they realize that Yahweh is the true God. And Elijah orders for the people to seize the prophets of Baal. They seize the prophets of Baal, and they kill them on the spot. And then Elijah, he's on the mountain, and he looks out, and he asks the servant, he says, do you see a cloud coming? Do you see a cloud coming? Because Elijah's praying, and his servant says, in the distance I see a small cloud. And he says, go tell Ahab that it's going to rain. And then, just like that, a rainstorm starts, and this rain that has not been there for 3 years, it just pours down everywhere. Now, King Ahab, it looks like his heart is changing. It looks like the peoples of Israel's heart is changing. So Elijah feels like, wow, these 3 years that I've been hidden, it's been for a reason. God had a reason for this. But then something happens, something unexpected happens. Ahab gets back to the palace, and he tells Jezebel what happened. And Jezebel sends a message to Elijah, may I die if you're not dead by the end of the day. And Elijah becomes scared, that the fear takes over him. His strength is drained, and he runs. And he can't understand why. He's exhausted from being alone for 3 years, thinking that this was for a purpose. And then doing this great work and seeing victory, feeling victory on top of Mount Carmel when God made the fire come down. But now it's like, why? Why have I been alone all this time? Nothing has changed. They still want to kill me. And so Elijah, he falls asleep, depressed. An angel wakes him up, tells him to eat. And this goes on a couple times. And Elijah now has enough strength. And he travels all the way from Israel to Mount Sinai, the place where God met with the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. And there he comes face to face with God. And he lays everything out to God. And Elijah goes, God, I'm the only prophet left. So God does an amazing thing. He reveals himself to Elijah. Elijah covers his face, and God says, go and anoint a man named Jehu, and he will be the next king of Israel, and he will destroy everybody. And I also want you to anoint a man named Elisha, who will be your helper, and he will be the person that comes after you as the next prophet. And anybody that Jehu doesn't kill, he will kill. But I'm going to preserve some in Israel. I'm going to preserve 7,000 because they have never bent their knee to Baal. They have never worshiped Baal. And I don't know if it hit Elijah or not, but this prophet that's been hiding for 3 years, feeling like he's all alone. Within the span of the story, we have seen 2 incidents where God or somebody has revealed to him that he is not all alone. First, Obadiah said, look, I've risked my life too. I've hid 100 prophets. There's 100 prophets in hiding that their life is at risk too. And I've risked my life. I put it on the line to save them. And now God himself is saying, look, Elijah, I know you feel alone, but you're not all alone. There's 7,000 others that have never bent their knee to Baal. Friends, we are not alone. You're not alone in this. Yes, you may be sitting in your house right now. Yes, maybe you haven't gone to church. Maybe you haven't been able to fellowship. But friends, we are all in this together. None of us are alone. And God knows, and he is with each one of us, and he will help us endure. So friends, I want to just encourage you, just like this book, to remember that you're not all alone. We've been in our houses for a few months now. We don't know how long it's going to be. But again, you're not alone. God is with you, and we are all going through this thing together. So I hope that this encourages you. I hope that this gives you strength. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and God bless.